Goedenavond, everybody. Much better. Goedemiddag allemaal. Moweni. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Absolutely delightful to have you in the room. We say those in the room are the ones we want in the room. So we hope you're looking forward to a fruitful, interactive session where we will share wisdom, knowledge, experience, and our aim is absolutely to move our schools forward and to give our children the best possible education. And we say, like the Western Cape Education Department says, quality education for every child in every classroom in the entire province, if not in the whole of South Africa. So my name is Ridwan, and you won't struggle because I read one book at a time. So you won't forget, read one book at a time, okay? I'm a former principal, having served 43 years and 23 years as a headmaster, and last year they kicked me out. Not for any reason, say you're an old bally now, you need to go. So I'm working for Citizen Leader Lab, and we are delightful that Citizen Leader Lab through the School Leadership Forum is hosting this afternoon session. And in that, School Leadership Forum is absolutely humbled by the generosity of my school and Hallwards who make this program possible for the entire year. We ask you what your needs are, we do a survey, and then we roll out topical issues that will satisfy your curiosity. And so this afternoon we are absolutely humbled. I see Marlene is busy. To have Marlene in the room. She has flown all the way from up north to be with us this afternoon, and I'm sure we will gain a lot from her experience and a wealth of knowledge working in the sector. So please bear with me. Marlene is a highly experienced manager who has worked with NGOs, government and the private sector across South Africa and the SADC region. Her expertise is in designing and implementing adult learning and sharing interventions addressing both micro and macro needs. Her career highlights include designing and implementing a national capacity building strategy that ensured the National Youth Service implementers had the knowledge and skills to successfully guide young people in skills acquisition and service to their country. She was also instrumental in drafting a strategy and convening collaborators for the professionalization of youth workers in South Africa. So, they normally do this to me. So, over to Marlene. Welcome, Marlene.
Not because of that. I was born in Johannesburg, grew up in a small town called Standerton in Mpumalanga. When I finished school, I came to Bellville College and studied there as a teacher in Kuilsrivier. And then went back to teach in my old school in Standerton, at my alma mater. So my principal became my colleague, which was amazing, and some of my teachers were my colleagues. And then I left and went to Eldorado Park and taught at the Blue School for a few years, and that was a lot. And so I decided to leave education and worked with different education organizations, including the Catholic Institute of Education, that owns Catholic schools. The schools are owned by the bishop, so independent schools. And subsequently the rest of my journey. And I named that because I have big admiration for schools, the role of the school in the community, and also the journey that you need to walk as the schooling community. And so when I started speaking to Nonhlanhla and Ridwan, the request was to talk about inclusion and belonging. And so where I want to start is first, I don't know, some of you who are sitting next to each other might know each other, but we believe in, and I know I feel bad because I interrupted you, but it was about the bio, it wasn't about anything else. But just with the person next to you, so I'm just going to carry on, right? To share your name, and it should be someone you don't know. And Ridwan the other day said when he hears someone's name that starts with an M, he said, Marvelous Marlene. And I was thinking of the boxer, marvelous Marvin Hagler, that my dad used to really like. But so with the person next to you, if you can introduce yourself, but put an adjective that kind of explains and rhymes with your name in a way that not only rhymes, but more than anything explains who, or gives a sense of who you are based on your name. Alrighty. Well, thank you very much. So paired conversations, I said to Ridwan and Ntlantla, I'm going to go a little bit behind the curtain as well, so pull back. Paired conversations, when you bring even your staff together and you shape a question that, that helps them to connect with each other. We say connection before content. If you connect better, then you better able to do the other things. And if you connect regularly, which is what I say about my children, is if you connect when things are good, it's so much easier to connect and deal with conflict when things are not so good, right? And so if we can create moments of connection that builds the relationship, you've met someone new, and that helps to shift the energy of the work that you have to do together. So what I want to just get a little bit of a sense around, so you were invited to this session. I'm curious, what is your highest hope for the session? Or what questions are you sitting with that you would like to have us talk about? Ideally, we do touch on it today, and if not, an extended opportunity beyond this. But I'm curious, like, what's your highest hope for the session? Yeah.
I'm very interested in the youth development. So I was hoping that there might be a way to connect the organisation that I'm working with somebody who works with youth to you, and then also possibly have ways for training.
Okay. And what kind of training specifically?
Well, she does life skills with teenagers, and she's always keen to be learning more, and yeah.
Okay.
It depends on what the programs are, but she's always very keen to keep one.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
No, for me, it's always about the word inclusion and belonging, and you look at. You come into a school and you see beautifully the values and you have the vision and the mission out there.
Yeah.
And my question is always, how many of the staff is actually bought into that vision and that mission? And if they haven't, how do I get them to buy into the vision?
Yeah.
Because remember, everybody sitting there has got their own vision, their own personal vision and mission, and purpose for being there, or their own agenda for being there. So how do I get people to buy into it? So, going through that strategic development is all good and well.
Yeah.
For me, it's about, I don't know how purposeful it is. It's fine, but you get 80 or 70% of people thinking in that direction is fine, but that 30% could be the problem, not the problem, but could be the obstacle for us achieving those particular that particular vision and mission. So I always said that I'll do that process, I'll go through the process, but for me, how do I get that person to, or those people to get in? I use the school that I was at as an example. You've got, I'm sorry to use the terminology, the racial terminology, but we had white people there, 3 of them. I had Zimbabweans, I had African blacks, I had colored from different socioeconomic backgrounds.
Yeah.
And then similarly with the, I'm talking about the whole staff now, support staff and the teaching staff. And so you've got people from different backgrounds, Christian, Muslim, non-aligned, and there was one that was, don't just say confused, but didn't know where the person stood as far as the orientation was concerned. So my question is, how do I get a team like that to buy into a vision and a mission and those values? Because you come in there with your own personal thinking as well. So I'm really interested in inclusion and belonging.
Yeah, okay. Thanks. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Right, I'm just here for me.
Nice.
All right, I don't have all of these ideas. School Leadership Forum is, for me to develop as a leader, sitting amongst leaders, and just picking up something. So I don't have all of these, things for me personally. So I'm just here to develop as a leader, and I'll be open to taking as much as I can.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, please.
I think for me, like the previous gentleman said, looking at the staff component, for me, I'm looking at my learner component in terms of the sense of belonging. And it is also one of our pillars. And how do I project that so that that learner at the end of the day has a sense of belonging?
Yeah.
Thanks for calling me gentlemen.
Anyone else? What are you curious about, grappling with? Want to deepen?
I was hoping everybody was going to talk, and then I'm finishing tomorrow. So, the reason why I come is because I've been to the other Citizen Leader Lab gatherings, and different things have come up. I opened a beauty school for disadvantaged learners. My experience there is learners that are leaving school with a lot of challenges. If I can make just an example of one case that I've been dealing with this week, this young lady, 18 years old, fell pregnant at 17, had triplets. Triplets died immediately after birth. Horrendous experience. When I did not interview her, I usually interview the students one-on-one before I take them onto the program. So she went through a process with someone else. But I usually check for things like that, just to know what will I be dealing with once they're in the program. How the information came out was her announcing to the class that she's got triplets. So then the story was the triplets were on a machine, and the doctors had said that the machines were going to be switched off. So of course I got involved. I was involved in the case, and I investigated, only to find out that actually the triplets passed in May when she gave birth. But she still walks around with the notion that the triplets are still alive, and she's going through a very traumatic experience. Brought the mother in, similarly traumatized. So at the last gathering that we had, there was a lot that was raised about even issues that teachers and principals are having to deal with, and having to be like social workers at school with challenges that they have, that students are having or learners are having. I had a conversation with Prof. Janssen, and the reason for my conversation is that I am trained to handle cases, traumatic cases like that, and also to investigate before there's a breakout, where teachers are not going to be able how to handle cases like that. I'm not a social worker. I'm not a therapist, but I'm a trained, emotional, intelligent seminar leader.
Yeah.
So I've learned about personality types and just how human beings, how we respond to life and ontology. And that's why I'm here.
Thank you.
Because I know what they deal with.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
So ideally to tap into you as a resource as well.
Sure.
Because I just want to name, it's very much a combination of, we call it inner work for social change. So you have to do your inner work, right? So being here for yourself and taking care of yourself is very important for your own resilience in the space and the work that you do. And how do we find that source of where we can go to the fountain and rejuvenate ourselves, right? We can only give if our cup is full. I think that's the one. We see so much trauma and hurt, and you said someone is confused. You find that a lot of those that are confused are going through serious mental health challenges as well in some way. For our children who struggle with identity, who am I, what am I, I'm not good enough. And so how do we hold space so that they feel they belong and they are part of, and irrespective of what I look like, how I show up, I belong, I'm part of this, and I can be, and that sense of freedom to be. And so when we think about, and I have some definitions, but I'm getting confused which laptop to use, around diversity, equity, and inclusion. But one of the things that we have to figure out is how do we hold space for those conversations, for the people who are around us, and so that people do feel that they belong. So typically what we do, and this is what we do in a community like this when we come together, but also to think about what are the ground rules that you set when you come together. I can share the slides, but I'm just going to move it a little bit. Because when we come into, I call it community, but with relationships, you come with your perspectives and your points of views, with your lived experiences. We come with our traumas, our hurts, our baggage. We come with our gifts, our talents, our wisdom, right? We show up with all of that. And then we hear other people's traumas, but we also see gifts and wisdoms and insights. So when we come together, we always have to set a container for how we engage and how we hold space for others, and what's our role as leaders to do that. And so what are the things that you need to do to create a sense of belonging and a sense of inclusion in your community? So we have container agreements for dialogue, and it's part of when we are in a meeting, cell phones off or cell phones on silent, and every voice matters and those kind of things. And you can set your own kind of agreements, but what we encourage, especially when it comes to harder conversations, is to invite people into, how can I be brave? And it doesn't matter that I need to be perfect. And so I can speak the language that I speak, I don't have to worry, but I can share what's deep in my heart in a way that everyone can hear and listen. And for others, how do you receive someone when they speak from their I and speak from their experience, which is also what we always invite people to do. How do I listen to understand and not respond? That's a really hard one for a lot of us. So what listening skills? And also we talk about assume best intentions, acknowledge the intent, but own the impact. I want to say something, but it's hurting someone else. So how do you honor the feelings and the hurt that you create, or the joy that you create? There's impact when you say things. And also, and these are kind of ground rules that we are setting, to stay curious about your thoughts and feelings when you hear that story. What thoughts and feelings come up for you? So even in schooling contexts and environments where you deal with teams and staff, how do you hold some agreements and container principles that you can navigate throughout? The one that I always invite people into is to be prepared to be surprised. And I want to name that we have a lot of trauma and hurt, and we have a lot of reconciliation to do. But I believe, and that's my personal work that I'm doing for myself, as much as we have ancestral trauma, hurt, historic trauma, intergenerational trauma, we have a lot of joy as well. A lot of happiness. Like when I think about my parents, we went through hard times, and at the same time, they used to know how to have fun, right? How to be friends to each other, how to be in community with each other. And how do we tap more into that instead of just or instead of a lot of sadness? And how do we in our schools activate the principles that helps us? So your school motto, what's the school motto?
Towards success.
Towards success, right? And how can towards success be lived and modeled with joy, right? Success, it's all about hard work, but hard work should also be fun. So when we think about children, about schools, what are the ways in which we can create playful experiences for children, considering that their home environments are often so unpleasant. So the approach that we use is also, it's called appreciative inquiry. An appreciative inquiry, especially when we talk about race issues and how we use it, is to ask a question based on, say, the stories that you, the story that you told, the reflections that you have with some of the challenges that you mentioned in the school when people are so different. Is there a question you can ask that helps you unearth some of what is working and what is beautiful about the people that are so different? And how do we use that difference as an opportunity versus difference as something that pulls us apart? So how does difference pull us together? So appreciative inquiry always asks us to ask questions that we want more of, or the question, what is working well right now with what you are doing, even though people are different? So if I were to ask you, for the young lady, what do you think is working well for her right now that might help her move forward, even with the trauma that she's experiencing?
So what we're doing is counseling. I've had her to get to the process of acceptance and describing the experience on that day. So the babies were left at the hospital. There was no closure.
Okay.
So for her, in her mind, the babies are still there, and she has pictures of them and she relates to them as if they are alive. So I've had to involve the family, take them through a process, and also have them realize that they need to do like a burial for her to have the closure and see there is a grave and they are laid, even though there's no babies in that grave. But in her mind, she needs to get completion
and closure.
That, you know, that the babies
Thanks.
are.
So the gift of culture and practice as part of our journeys as well. Religion, spirituality, as part of our journeys. And what's that inner work that we do to release, right? And for children and the journeys that they go through. If I may ask for you, considering that you were so aligned, what's the thing that right now is working? I keep catching you when you're eating, so sorry about that. What's the thing that is working within the diversities, those challenges? What do you appreciate most about this moment now?
I think it's just engaging, because with engaging, you just broaden your wealth of everybody's opinions, and you can then form a nice picture.
Who leads the engagement?
In my case, I think each individual.
It's individual work and the collective as well, right? So how do they as individuals come together as the collective? So when we activate in this moment that they have good relationships that can work and how they navigate moving forward, it's very much about appreciating some of what works, because it's easy for us to go into the rabbit hole of what's not working and the problems, whether we speak about race, whether we speak about identity, whether we speak about gender and how children identify, which is such a complex context and situation, considering how we understand and see the world, considering how we have to navigate this moment when children are standing up with their identities and we have to embrace and support. And how do you hold that in a way where they do not feel, I'm not good enough, I don't belong here, I'm excluded because of how I feel? And how do you help them to understand? Because mental health is such a big issue that just draws them down. So appreciative inquiry is really an approach that we use to navigate the world. and always with our heads. So there's a lot of data and information, but we have to focus on our hearts and our hands as well. How do we hold issues in our hearts and see someone else's perspective and to have empathy for them, and how do we support them? I'm not going to talk about that. What I just want to also name, there are some definitions of diversity and inclusion. I think you named it, but it's really about, this image is not full, that there's intersectionality and all the complicated terminologies that we navigate. But I think what we are seeking is really to amplify what are our strengths of ourselves, as diverse as we might be, and each other, and how do our strengths contribute to the system. And there's a big call to action to all of us. When we think about where we are at as a country, our differences, the tension, it is to be deliberate when we include, to be decisive when we include, and being consistent and vigilant in terms of how do we include, how do we give voice to each and every one when we go through processes of inclusion. So when you have diverse people and so many differences, how do you level the playing field? And even then, how do you open up space for everyone to be part of this wide, big, broad journey, so that there's some levels of equality and equity in ways that's meaningful for everyone in ways that are fair. So I want to pause at this diagram. It's dimensions of diversity. So typically, and what's currently happening in our systems is that when we think about diversity, there's we think about it, or it's seen as deficit, and in ways that are negative, right? That creates division. So whether your religious practice, income levels, your gender, your abilities. And so I want you to just think of one where, based on, so the inner circle is typically what you are born into. You don't necessarily stay in that situation. For some of them, like your income level can improve when you win the lotto. So right, it changes, but it's typically what you are born into. And then the outer layer is what you acquire over time, right? And there's debates around that, like first language. Your first language is your first language. But if you grow up in a place where your first language is something, but where you are staying, it's a different language, and as a child you acquire the local language, right? That happens to a lot of children. And so the outer layer is what you acquire over time. I want you to choose a dimension. So I'll choose first language. So when you choose a dimension, think about it in ways that you are disadvantaged because of that dimension. So first language, my eerste taal is Afrikaans. So Engels is my tweede taal. Praat Zulu, my ma Zulu. So, but my first language, so English, I still need to buy data to get to the English end, right? No, yeah, and soon it will run out. But when it comes to first language, there's sometimes a lot of judgment. I know, especially when you speak Afrikaans. I have friends from abroad, and they're like, but Afrikaans is the language of the oppressor, and how can you speak Afrikaans? So then you have to tell them the whole long story, right, in terms of where you grew up and why. My primary school was Afrikaans, and where I lived, people spoke Afrikaans. So that's language, right? And it's something that I've been like judged, kind of disadvantaged around in terms of how people see it. And it's been very helpful when I come into Afrikaner communities, and I'm praat ek Afrikaans, and it just creates, or when you travel internationally and you just start speaking Afrikaans because you hear other South Africans praat Afrikaans and then, oh, it's just funny, it's so nice. And that kind of thing, right? It brings joy. And then, dan kan jy skinder ook, right? So there's gifts in it. So I want you to choose a dimension that you've been initially disadvantaged around, and then to flip it into how is that dimension a gift, and it contributes into society and it contributes into the community. So to think about it, and then with the same person or person next to you, you will share a little bit about that dimension and how it's a gift that contributes. Okay, any insights from your head, your heart, some nuggets you picked up that you would like to act upon? Mr. Ishmael, smiling. You're smiling. Smiling Ishmael. Yeah. Any thoughts, feelings, insights?
No, I think, we basically, have the same kind of, input that we gave, because, each one of us would have been somewhere else in our profession. There's a lot of things that we would have done, but because of circumstances, because of finances, because of the state of affairs in society and so on, I think neither of us actually, got to where we initially set out to go. And so we all ended up somewhere else, but none of us are actually sad where we are at the moment.
Yeah.
Somebody said we're living our best life.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
We're living our best life, so we are all very happy where we are. So, things worked out in the end, despite all the negatives and all the challenges.
Yeah. And I have a friend who always says, because of, it should be in spite of, right?
Yeah.
In spite of all of that, this is what I've achieved, and this has been my journey.
Correct.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. Anyone else? Thoughts, feelings?
Ours was
quickly.
race and language, and a little bit of family. And so, for me, it's some of the things I already know, like what she shared as a white person in South Africa, and I must say it's the first time that I hear a white person saying that they experience exclusion in this country, where for us as black and colored people, our experience is that they were the better ones, and they had what we didn't have.
Yeah.
They had what we wanted to have. So having experienced exclusion, as a society, I think it's common that being non-white, we will see them as, no, they don't have problems. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
She's fine. And for me, with language, I'm Motswana. I come from Kimberley in the Northern Cape. When I moved here, I could not speak Xhosa at all. I speak a little bit of it. But the disadvantage for me at that time is that I was in retail and I had a high portfolio. And so the expectation interacting with black people was that I should speak the language, I should speak Xhosa. To the point where I was reported to the manager that I don't want to speak my language. And then when I clarified, it also brought light to them that, not every black person speaks Xhosa. So it was also educational for the staff and customers that I was interacting with. But also the blessing is that I got to learn the language.
Oh, there, right? Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Okay, so gender. Yes, colleagues, you know that I'm new at the, well, not new. I think I'm part of the furniture, even though I came here. I started at 33, so I brought gender to the school. When I say gender, I'm the first female principal at the school. And yes, and the learners, and especially the girls, they will come to me and say, ma'am, thank Thank you for showing us that it is possible to lead. Thank you for paving the way for us. And that for me is everything, because that is why I'm here.
Yeah.
You know? And also, I mean, I'm a younger principal. No offense to the principals that are here, and Mr. Samodin, who is my mentor. But yes, I bring that.
Yeah.
So the learners are appreciating some young, fresh energy, listening to them, their opinions matter, they have that voice,
Yeah.
you know, so yes, that is what
Yeah.
we spoke about. Okay, so over to you.
Thank you.
Yeah. For me, it was religion. It was religion. So I said, when I came here in Cape Town, and then telling, when you with people and you say, I don't follow or affiliate in any. But then when I talk about my history and my family and my background, I'll say I'm from a very Christian, very religious family. But after that, I chose differently because of how I saw how limiting for me, that's for me personally, how limiting it was for me too. So when I came to Cape Town, I saw different religion. And when I tried to fit in to talk to those people, it was like, no, you know. So, but for me, and then I said to her, the good thing about it, whether I'm still in or out, what it helped me when my parents separated as a teenager, it kept me grounded. Religion kept me grounded. So that's why I am here, because bullying, peer pressure, it just kept me here. But then when I grew up, and then I chose differently. But I always go back to that. So.
Thank you.
Beautiful session. Again, white privilege. By using our white privilege to help the disadvantaged. And that is so beautiful. And like I said to her name is Radiance, and that's basically what she is getting at that.
Thanks. There's a lot of context around allyship and being an ally to those who are voiceless, right? Those that are marginalized. And even us as adults, how do we step in for those who don't have voice, or those who don't have access where you have access? So allyship is very important when you have privilege. Thanks.
And also the fact of the matter is that what she also meant, what she said was also is that the guilt that you have. And so by using that, using it to an advantage. That's really interesting.
I will say there is a lot of guilt and the work that we have to do, right? And sometimes we have survivor's guilt. Where I come from, like just this past weekend, someone that I grew up with and haven't seen in years passed away. And their circumstances continue to be. So the communities that we come from, there's many people we leave behind. So survivor's guilt, it's like the sense you have achieved and now you want to contribute when something bad happens to another family that you grew up with. And there's all that. And how do we show kindness to ourselves and do the work that we need to do to make a difference for others where we can? I think that's important for all of us, to do service for others. And loving the service that you do for others. Any quick insights?
I'm the eldest of 5, and he's the youngest of 4 weeks. And so we could see how the dynamic is different. My mom is not well, so everything falls on the eldest. You've got to do this, you've got to do this. And him, being the youngest, being the most educated, as far as book knowledge is concerned, being the most educated and being the youngest, it befalls him to make certain that everything runs smoothly in the family. And so the family status obviously does play a difference. But also then your level of education and also where you find yourself in that hierarchy. And try as you want to level that playing field and say, listen, but we're all adults, we're all married now, we've got our children are grown up. You can share this burden, and that becomes difficult. Because the minute when everything is going well, then it's fine, we can share. But when it's a tough situation, then it becomes your problem because you're honest. Kind of thing. So it can be a blessing and it can be something like
Yeah. Person the other day about black tax. You can't. We don't grow up with collateral. We step into life with a lot of what we want to achieve. So even if you want to buy a house, you're not going to get it from elsewhere, or it's not necessarily left for you. And you always have to take others with you. And so you don't have this freedom to walk away and live your life. You always have to take the others along. That also carries a lot of guilt when you want to say no. So it's very interesting context. So the next part, let me just say thank you for sharing your stories. How I use this with different groups is that it's always about, instead of seeing deficit, how do we appreciate and show up with what's working, so that we step a little bit away from the baggage and make it lighter as we move forward. So you can use this kind of approach to tell a story about the gift of where you come from, the gifts that you have, instead of looking at what I don't have. And so what I wanted to have conversation, and I'm specifically focused on, like, is there an issue in the school that someone wants to name, and then you name the issue and the rest of us will think with you and guide you through it, and thought partner. We call it spaciousness thinking partners. I very much work with my heart. So the person who's going to come and state their issue is going to sit here in the, what we call the love seat, where we show you love and kindness and generosity of listening to your story. And then we think with you in terms of what you can do around that situation. We call it spaciousness thinking partners because you name the issue and then others think with you and process with you, and ideally you see insights, wisdoms that you haven't thought about before. So is there anyone who would like to come and do this and we thought partner with you? So this is also, some people call it fishbowl, but a fishbowl just looks like there's someone who's going to come and catch, and right? Yeah, and because I use appreciative inquiry, we also give feedback in very not necessarily positive ways, but we say words make worlds, right? Mm-hmm. So the kind of words that you use help and feed. So, yes,
thank
please.
you. I just thought that I'll seize this opportunity because I'm sitting amongst the experts.
Yes, the wisdom.
The necessary guidance and advice that is needed. Colleagues, yesterday was a rough day. And I feel that it's becoming rougher, so to say. And I'm going to refer to the discipline. I feel it's that time of the year where the learners are tired, the teachers are tired. To be honest with you, the way I'm feeling now, I cannot wait for the exams to start so that we can have some peace. Learners take their own time to get to class. You warn them, you remind them, you share with them the importance of not bullying and respecting one another's personal space. You explain to them the repercussions of what might happen. Police cases can be opened by parents, and criminal record, explaining to them what might happen, but it's like they're becoming a bit rebellious, and to a point where I'm feeling guilty and I'm feeling that I'm the problem here. And within my capacity, I can also only do so much. And I'm also in a way feeling, this is me venting now, I'm letting it out. I'm using this opportunity. I'm letting it out.
Next to you.
Yes. I have to shout like a crazy lady. Go to class. And I'm not in the classroom. But I have so much admin. There's building blocks. There's SGB functionality. There is admin on top of admin. Self-school evaluation, and the admin doesn't stop. It's like the department come and they just this is due, that is due. Thank you ma'am, I like this. When an email comes from the CM, you need to report. A parent went to go lodge a complaint. You need to send a whole report. All incidents you need to log with Safe Schools. There's a process for everything. You have over 1,000 learners. It is a lot.
Okay, thank you.
You speak to the, am I done? I don't want to be done.
Yeah.
Can I continue?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, can I ask you to take a deep breath?
Yeah, thank you.
Just one. And all of us too. Exhale and okay. You can continue wherever you wish.
Yeah, I actually do feel a bit better. Yeah, so that was heavy on my heart. And then this afternoon, I came late because then the police came because there was a fight outside. And then parents are calling me, are you aware of this happening? And then these learners drawing or writing on the neighbors' walls. And it is a lot that I'm thinking, yeah, Sharifa. So you can not sorry now for moving to Afrikaans. I come on every day and I put on my superwoman cap. And I'm a very positive person. I've got a very positive outlook for life. The negatives, they exist. Discipline will always be a problem. It is everywhere. This is not the only school where it happens. And we can try our utmost best to eliminate it. It will always be there. But I also feel that everyone are not team players. And if we can have everyone on board, just doing their little part, just stepping outside when the bell rings, just being, look, I'm taking my power back, then the learners will see, but come on man, everyone is hands on deck. But one person or two persons cannot be doing it alone. It is impossible. So how do you win your staff over in saying, look, this is what's happening. This is the problem. We have teachers who do everything to the book. Then there's teachers who, it's okay. Okay. You know, and I'm sure, I like it when she does that. It's like, mommy's telling me, it will be okay. Because it will. There are times that I feel that I have failed in my job. And I'm getting emotional now because I really feel like it. I feel like I am failing. And why is that? Because we spoke about that sense of belonging, trying to be accepted. But I'm past that. I told myself, if people like you, they will like you for who you are. You know? And yes, this is a safe space. That's why I'm doing this. But it is not easy being in this position and looking from the outside in or just looking at you. It looks so easy, but it is not. There is so much and you have to spread yourself. And I'm not complaining because I accepted this position, you know? But you have to spread yourself thin in so many places. And I just also believe that he who is everywhere is nowhere. So there are times that I go home quite late and I just feel despondent because I feel I have failed. And I come back the next day and I try again and I will keep trying because that is who Sharifa is. Sharifa is no quitter. And I know there are times that I feel like giving up. And I think, Sharifa, no, you have a whole community of people behind you. You have amazing mentors who you can reach out to and just call for help if you need assistance. And for that, I am so grateful because I have a huge network of people in my life. But again, just that walk, you know, it is not easy. But again, I know I'm not alone. And that is why I will continue trying. Thank you. It feels lekker, man.
Thank you.
I feel good.
Thank you. Thanks for your courage.
I feel good. Thank you.
Thanks for your courage. So now I want you to take another deep breath and we're going to take it with you. And as a group, because the wisdom is here, and as you said, you have community, just okay, let's just take a moment and any images, quotes, metaphors, colors, what do you feel What do you taste? What do you smell when you hear Sharifa? Anything that comes up, like just we're just going to hold on to that. Like if there's a quote, if there's a feeling, a thought that comes up.
I will survive. That's all.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, let's hold on to that. I will survive. Let's hold on to that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, let's just.
Those quitters don't succeed,
Yeah,
and those who succeed
don't quit. Yeah. So with that, any practical guidance as educators who've walked a journey? Mark, you've been in school as well, so the wisdom is in the room. Any input that any of you can give in terms of what you do in those situations that you can guide Sharifa around?
Look, like she said, is that the teachers need to buy in. Simple things. Line up. Teacher must stand in front. When the bell rings, you dismiss. And this is the thing with our teachers. We don't do all the same thing. No caps. Neatly tied. Make sure that you have your blazers on. That's why I say with the grade 8s, you must make sure you grade 8. For the grade 8s, your grade 8 must be going into classes, go check. So once you start with the grade 8s, you won't have problems with the 9th, 10th, and 11th. At our school, we have a disciplinary officer who assists the deputy principal, right? So that also assists us. You know, we again got a lot of admin where she basically do that little things, like the teachers' lives, all the parents and that type of thing. So that also assists us in that regard. But again, buy-in of the teachers.
And what do you do to get that buy-in of the teachers?
Again, we had workshops, because remember at our staff we have experienced teachers and then you have your younger teachers. So the younger teachers you have to rope in, you know. So the younger teachers it's easy to rope in because they want to do everything to the team, you know, they must look good. The older teachers, some of them, you know what, so the principal do call them in, reprimand them, this is what you're supposed to, that type of thing. You as the principal do not want to police, but I still feel as a principal, teachers, the students must see the principal walking around. The presence must be felt.
Yes.
You know, and you're not walking to the classrooms to observe the teachers, but just to they must see the principal. But you know, sometimes the principal is unable to come out of the office because of the admin load, right? So all of those things. But how do you? It's just about communication with the staff. Have briefings in the morning. If you don't see things happening, have a workshop, you know, or something to that effect, and just to see what happens.
Okay. Thanks.
And as a young principal, you are going to have a lot of conflict. You are going to have your haters, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
It's how you deal with it.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. But just to be demure all the time.
Yes, of course. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please.
It's very important to connect with your SMT. You know, if you're going to go and you want to get your whole staff in line to do what they need to do, it's going to be a huge task, you know, to start off with. But to connect and build a relationship with your SMT, you know, that's going to be more manageable. You need to get your management on your side. And then your management, if you invest in your management, it will filter down to the rest of the staff and those people in those different departments in the school. So we need to work hard in getting your management in line and get them to buy in and use them to get the others to buy in.
Keep them accountable for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so So don't go full out, getting your whole staff. It's going to be daunting for one person. But get those few people on your management, get them behind you, and then you guys will get the rest of the stuff. I'm also, I feel you, because I feel what you're going through, and but we take the positives.
Yeah.
I am a Liverpool supporter, so
You'll never walk alone.
never walk alone.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
sir.
please, sir.
You walk with God. So your spirituality helps you a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
But for me, having been in that situation myself, have you come from outside or you
Yes.
here?
No, I come from outside.
So you had an argument. We've always been doing it like this way. So who are you young, who are you to come and tell us differently?
Yeah.
So you're going to have those people on your staff. And I agree with what Sir is saying. Make some time aside, put some time aside, Thursday afternoon or whatever, when you have that space to meet one-on-one with that SNT person. And like Ma'am is saying, connect with that particular individual. Because what we were saying earlier on, how do you get everybody to buy into a vision and a mission?
Yeah.
That is a mission on its own.
Right.
Because everybody's sitting there with their own stuff, as we have there.
Right.
So, but you need to communicate, with that person.
Yeah.
Look, I'm new here. I've been doing it like this. This schools that I come from. This is the way we did it there.
Yeah.
How's it being done here? Was it effective? How can we work together? But one-on-one.
Yeah.
And so you win them over.
Yes.
And then what I did was, and then I only found this out 5 years later,
Yeah.
was to say, look, I can just do what I can do.
You want to
You get up in the morning, you say your prayer, God's be with you, carry you through.
Yes.
Holy Spirit to guide me, guide my tongue, so that I know what I'm saying and when I'm saying it. And it's easier said than done. Because often, being young, we react and we don't respond.
Yes.
What's it? We react, we don't respond. Because something goes wrong now, you want to sort it out now. Something goes wrong, choose your battles. Choose your battles. Decide, do I need to address this thing right now? Or can this thing hang on? This is more important. So let me rather focus on this one. And not everybody's going to like you, whether you like it or not. On this staff, not everybody's going to like you. They have to make difficult decisions. My thing was always, this now is a management prerogative. This is the decision. And this is the reason why I do that decision. And that's my saving grace was I could explain. It's not just you do it because I say so, because I'm the principal. We're doing this because it's in the best interest of the school, best interest of the children. The parents would like to have this. We can't close early because we haven't contacted the parents or the taxis to say we're closing early. So I'm drawing the line here. I'm making that decision.
Yeah.
There's certain things that you then decide. This is what what's going to happen. At the end of the day, what helped me, at the end of the day, I would then review my day. Review my day. What could I have done differently? What should I do? And you have a cut-off time. 9 o'clock, cell phone goes off, laptop goes off, and this is where I am now. So it becomes difficult. I mean, as a young person, if you're married, it's even worse. And you got kids, it's even worse. And I often say that I admire women in education because you want them to give your best in every facet of your life. You want to give your best, but you can just do what you can do under the circumstances, and eventually you get them over one by one. But have a strategy in place.
Yes.
Have a strategy in place. There's no silver bullet to solve the discipline problems. Because all of those children that's sitting there, 1,000 children, got 1,000 different set of circumstances. So you're not going to have one silver bullet that's going to solve 80% of your problems. It's not going to happen. And once you realize that, and the way to, what I found was, and you don't have the time, is if you have somebody that you can bounce off and say, listen, Terence, your situation, mother beat up the father, you never had breakfast this morning, now you're acting out in the class. Would you mind going to chat to Mr. Klassen and ask him out there? Because at this point in time, I can't help you. Because you want to solve that person's problem, the next teacher walks in, you forget to greet that person, that becomes a problem. So you have this thing happening more times. So I'm taking up the time and I'm going to have this discussion with, I'm entering another principal as well, acting principal. So what I would say is that, I used to say, fine ma'am, you coming here, sir, you coming here to fight with me because your child misbehaved. So have a seat, excuse me quickly, then I go for a walk, take my breathing exercise, and come back. Now I'm ready for you. Because I know why you're here. I know why you're here. But if I'm going to say something now about your child, there's going to be a personal attack on your child and you're going to get upset. and I won't be able to get through to you.
Yeah.
So we'll be fighting. The child is sitting there watching the show, and the two of us are fighting. And I've learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
So what I would then do is I say, have a seat, I'll be with you now, and I'll take a walk, and I'll come back, and then I'll sit down and say, how can I help you?
Yeah.
And now he came to come and fight, and I'm trying to de-escalate the situation. Yeah, because I understand that this is a situation, but we find it difficult. It's not one teacher complaining. It's that, so now I can name the teacher. I can name the child's teachers for that subject and that subject. But now, why are you behaving in Mr. Ishmael's class, but you're disrespecting one of those other teachers? What's Mr. Ishmael doing differently? But you don't have the time as a principal because you're being bombarded all the time. You know, so if you have that somebody on the SMT that you can say that Craig, if he has the time, I don't know if he's going to get the time next year, but if he has the time, he will get instead. It's a bit cheap on the problem, you know? Take him out.
And you must deal with 50 personalities.
Yeah, that's it. And you're doing a juggling all the time.
Yeah.
So you need to decide.
I want to add my advice.
Yes.
For you, everything is new.
Yeah.
In school, everything and every child is new at the school. Every situation is new. And you come with your own pressure that you need to perform because in your mind you think people want you to perform. And so what you need to say is this will soon pass, or these things will soon pass. And just take it as it comes. They speak about decentralization, not delegation. You can delegate, but you must still be, if you decentralize with your SMT and you get them on board, and then you can get them to also be your hands and your eyes to assist with the discipline. But don't own the discipline problem because it's not you. It's a societal thing.
Yeah.
Just take it one step at a time.
Yeah. Thank you.
You have two deputies.
Yes.
One must be the disciplinary deputy.
Yeah. That is what is, we are all in it. All of us probably, you know. Yeah. Oh, where's Emif now? We loves to say that.
So just quickly because of time.
Contribution is I love this series when I used to watch television back then. It's about a hospital. And
Grey's Anatomy.
no. And the guy New Amsterdam, yeah. And this new guy says, how can I be of assistance? How can I help you? I'm not in the position that you're in. I lead my team. I head up the beauty program, so I've got staff that work under me. And they have their own issues. Usually it's stuff that happens at home.
Yeah.
I'm there to serve. My major goal is their well-being. When they are well, the students must be well. So I work this way, and that's why cases, the girl that I was talking about, in one day I got to the depth of the situation. So it is, you don't want to take on too much as a person, because as said here, you have a home to go back to and a family to also attend to. Make your purpose very clear. You are here to serve, and how can you serve them? When people have an experience of being cared for and being heard, it makes things a little bit easier. And the same thing with these children. A lot of them, all they want is just love. They just want love. They just want to know that they matter. And when they have that experience, and mind you, some of them, they come from homes where dad is not there, mom is a drug addict, and you know, they've been raped and they've gone through whatever experiences, they feel alone. So when they come here, they just want, just for your peace of mind, it's just about love and experiencing being served. So how can I serve you? And the same thing with the teachers. Implement that, how can I serve you? And it goes out to the
I like that. I always say, how can I help you?
Yeah.
But I'm going to use it.
Yeah, how can
I serve you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Alex, other ones, how can I make you smile?
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
There's another one about you want to serve, but you take all the monkeys off their backs and put it on your back. You must be very careful about, no, this monkey can stay on his back. I'm not going to keep taking all your monkeys. So you need to discern which monkeys are the ones that you want to sort out.
And that's the thing, that's actually a big one. Your purpose is not to take it away, because you cannot take away people's problems. But when you give them the space to feel like it is safe to be with you, and they can give that space as well to the learners that they are safe with you. You're not taking away their problems. You can't. Because they go back into that environment. It will be too much. You'll burn out. But let them just know that you are there for them. Sometimes you're not going to have all the time to listen, but they just know when they come into your space. What I said to the mother of this learner, I said, I will hug her every day. And please, when she gets home, even if you cannot hug her, just give her a hug from me. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Thank you, colleagues, for listening. I feel so good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
A short reflection of the experience.
Yeah.
And you said you feel good, but
yes,
just...
when I actually expressed myself, I thought I was in a therapy session. And I'm thinking, oh, good shot, this is self-payment here. Yes, thank you for that, sir. So, yes, I'm appreciative of the fact that I got to speak my truth this afternoon. I was a bit overwhelmed, and I'm feeling so much better. I think tomorrow, I'm coming back with a different vision and a different mindset. So thank you for the session.
Thanks.
And I also actually felt very tired at the start in my mind. I told myself, I hope this is not going to be too long. But now I feel that you can move, because it really benefited me. And when you, sir, said you're here for yourself, I sat there in my mind, not judging you, but thinking, you selfish. No, that is what was in my mind. But when you explained the why, I understood, because again, your cup needs to be full in order for you to serve. So thank you.
And sometimes you need to just throw it all out and then make space for new and fresh. So thanks for your courage for coming here and sitting in the process. And the invitation is to reflect what you heard, and just to also discern, and to give yourself grace and space to figure out and navigate and walk this journey, and to take care of yourself. Thank you. Thanks so much, Sharifa.
Can I just make a comment? I spoke to a colleague of mine, a principal at another school, and he said to me that we must get together because he wishes to share with me. And I found, I'm only a principal now for 4 years, so it's not that long. But, only principals would know what principals go through. Not even the deputies know what principals go through. So it's important that we find another principal, to share with. Because they know exactly what we're going through, what the pressures are. So it's a lonely place to be at.
Thank you. Thanks for that reminder. Welcome. Thank you.
Because I had a challenge with my sister.
No worries.
I know Ms. Clark said I must come and join the meeting, but I apologize.
No worries. No, thank you for coming. So we almost at the end, so it's Ridwan's turn. But what might it look like if we create space to have authentic conversations about some of what we face? What might it look like if we ask each of our staff how they can create a sense of belonging and how they can model? I'm trying to remember what Muhammad said, success, towards success, right? How do we each model that and own it and walk it every day? Because success is about, if everyone in that school feels they belong, then they will do the right thing every day, because it's part of who they are, it's part of their space. Claire and I, we know a woman who writes about belonging, and she speaks about the 4 Ps. You belong to people, you belong to purpose. What's your purpose and your sense of belonging? What's your people and your tribe and your sense of belonging in that community? You belong to a place, so your environment, your place, how you feel about it, how you own your community, how you walk the streets, take care of the streets, take care of the school. Forget the other P. And empowerment. But the knowing that power and empowerment, we each have our power within us. Children have gifts and talents, they're not empty vessels. And teachers have so much skill and capacity. And so what is the space that you create so that they can use their power to show up? So purpose, people, power, and place. And that sense of belonging in those contexts create the environments that help people shape how they want to be in the world. But first we need to feel a deep sense of connection to self. So our self-care matters, our well-being matters, right? And so what are those things that we do to have a spiritual connection, a deeper connection to ourselves, our higher power in whatever form or religion or practice, and connection deeply inside of us. And if you do those, then at the very least you can navigate each day. Get up in the morning, and how do we encourage others to also, you were saying you feel for women. The last thing I will say, imagine a woman who's on menopause. And I name it because I feel there is such deep denial about the journey that women walk, similar to the journey that young girls walk, right, as women and girls. And so really to feel kindness and compassion for each other, and for our boys and young men as well, and for older men who have to lead the community. So as community, how do we show kindness and compassion for each other, knowing what we each go through in our different contexts? So grace and space is what I invite us all into, to be brave and not perfect.
I used to joke with the staff, more than half of them have we've got 7 males, and then everybody else was female. And I said half of them are menopausal, the other half is probably menstruating. That's why we have all these problems.
It can be the truth, but to show grace, right, and kindness and compassion for them. So with that, thank you, Ridwan. Thank you very much. Thanks, Manklangla.